Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are talking contemporary romance and covering The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren.
Let's start with why we selected the Problem. First, it gives like Pretty Woman, Crazy Rich Asians, Succession, and White Lotus vibes. And if you don't know what those four things are, you need to watch some TV and movies,
Yeah, get on our level. We love a good book, but like a good TV show to binge is like the best.
right? It's
And those are
also
good ones.
those are very good ones. It's also filled with some of the best romance tropes, in my opinion, because who doesn't love a good one bed, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. It's
Yes.
It is super quick and easy to read, especially in the spring and summer. It is a great, I would say, like beach read. And the plot is a good combination of romance and it has some like family business drama. So if you are looking for something that's more than just a love story, it definitely has some surprises and twists and turns throughout it too.
Yeah, for sure. And here are a few things you should know about the author, Christina Lauren. It's actually a pen name for an American author duo. So, like two friends, Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings. They've written about 30 plus books. Most of their stuff is contemporary romance, and it tends to fall in like the 2 to 3 pepper spice rating. Books are usually going to include some current pop culture references and a few really humorous scenes. Like, they even like literally mentioned like White Lotus at one point, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm on the same track here. We're good. All right, perfect.
So I wasn't imagining it.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Sure.
So before we jump into discussing the book, a couple of key reminders. This episode will contain spoilers. If you are listening, we assume that you've read the book. You have been warned. This book also contains topics that may be sensitive for some readers, including cancer, divorce, emotional abuse, and sexual harassment. Now, let's get to the fun part and talk tropes. There are a few of them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, right out of the bat, the fake relationship. That to me, it was hard for me to believe at the beginning. Like the kind of, and this kind of goes into the second one of like marriage and convenience, because it's like, okay, how can you be married to somebody but like not really know them?
Or their
And
name.
or their name. Yeah, like throughout half the book, she calls him West, and like you find out in the beginning, his name is actually Liam, and he jokes about it. He's like, "Wait, did you really think my name was West Weston?" Which would be hilarious. But and so it's like sometimes she refers to him as Liam, sometimes as West, and you're like, okay. But like the fake relationship, it was really funny. That's where it's kind of like Pretty Woman esque, where like she's being paid to pretend to be his wife. Spoiler, and it's like all about them trying to convince everybody that they're actually together, but married. And what's weird is like they lived together for 2 years, and like how do you not know a single thing about this person? Like, did she do day shift and he do night shift? Like, it's weird. So that was one little thing that I had with the book that I get is supposed to be a part of it, but at the same time, like a little hard to believe because I'm like, how do you not know?
Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I liked about it is I love the different worlds. If you look at like her experience, she's definitely like a struggling artist. She's working at a convenience store when it starts, and then he is this kind of billionaire family, but also like has like said, "No, I don't need your money," and is trying to be like a professor at Stanford. So it's very different worlds, which I think is always fun, which gives me that like that crazy rich Asian vibes when you come into it and it's like two totally different people.
Yeah. Like
And
she
then
didn't know you have all this money. You're like, oh, okay.
also, how do you hide that?
Yeah. I'm like, did he? I mean, I like talk about like he drove like an old car, like an old like what, Honda or something like that. And it's like, okay, like I get he's not being flashy with his money, so sure, like you can hide that. But at the same time, I'm like, you're just like so are you that self-centered that you don't recognize what somebody else is doing in their life that you're living with and pretending to be married to?
Or who
Like,
their family is? Like you also knew his brother. How did we not know this?
yeah, it's like, how did your brother not, you just didn't connect the dots? And at that point, I'm like, how did you get into UCLA? You know, I'm down here in Southern California, and like, I applied to UCLA, and it's like, I didn't get in. And so I'm like, how did this chick who went to do like pre-med, I know we're gonna talk about this more later, but it's just like, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't track. But it was fun for the story. I'll give it that.
Yeah. And then obviously, like, there's a one bed trope, which I personally always love because to me, it's always like the forcing function. Everyone always says, It'll be fine. Nothing will happen. Or I'll take the couch or I'll take the floor. No, you will not. At some point, you will end up in the bed together. We know where it's going to go. So I always find it comical when you have that situation because it's like, what kind of nonsense are they going to tell themselves and each other to try and pretend like nothing will happen when clearly something will happen?
Yeah, it's like what's that thing where it's like the gun, like you see the gun in the like I forget what that's called, but it's like if they mention it, it's gonna come back up again. It's gonna be a thing, and no matter how many pillows you put in between, like you're gonna end up like on one side of the bed or the other, or all the
Right?
bed,
Or all the bed. Who knows?
or
Some
the
people move
kitchen.
around a lot when they're sleeping or the
Oh,
kitchen.
sleeping. Oh my God, I cannot wait to get to that part. I am so excited.
Me too. Well,
Anywho,
let's jump in. So we're talking about all the drama. There's a lot of drama in this book. When we were
there
putting
is.
together the summary, I was kind of like, a lot of shit happens.
Shit
Even
goes down.
it does. And sometimes when you read contemporary romance books, there's a lot of scenes, but there's not a lot of like information that's critical to like the story. And this one actually had a lot. So
Yeah.
when they get started, like in the prologue, one of the my favorite parts, because to be honest, I didn't love Anna right away because I was like, why are you getting divorced, watching your husband move out, and you are more emotionally concerned about the fact that you're not going to have furniture, but you get to keep the divorce couch? And is that a thing?
The TV. Yeah.
And the
Like
TV,
at
right?
first,
Like it's
yeah, like at first I felt bad for her. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so sad. Cause like I have a friend who went through a divorce recently. And so I was like, oh, like my heart goes out to her. She must be so upset and so sad. And like her neighbor is like, honey, I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh, I barely knew the guy, whatever. And I'm like,
right.
what? What?
But
So
so
then that sets you
confused.
up to be like, oh, they don't know each other. They really don't. I thought she was
Right.
joking.
And then also, and this is, I think, I love like the fake relationship marriage of convenience tropes, but I also am just like, who does that? Who gets married to secure family housing?
Yeah, like
Like
I'd
it's
understand like a green card, you know.
right. Well,
That's
maybe
more
not in this
realistic.
administration.
Maybe, yeah, maybe not now. But yeah, it's like for housing, I was like, well, that's a bit like,
That
I don't know.
that's a bit of a
And if this guy
stretch
is so rich, why doesn't he just buy a fucking house? Like, I don't know.
because he told his parents apparently to fuck off.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So then I love like we switch back to like it's like 3 years later, right? So we have this jump in time and we get to meet Anna at the grocery store where she's like a night cashier, which I applaud anyone who works a cashier job at a convenience store or a grocery store at night because no good comes in during that time. And what who I would refer to as like Nepo douchebag Ricky, who fires her for supposedly stealing a pack of gum when in reality it's because she won't go out with him. And you have kind of like our first situation of like sexual harassment. You can't fire people because they don't want to date you. That shouldn't have to be said, but I feel like once again it has to be said.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I'm sorry that number one, you're like a tiny little baby child who is only working for mommy daddy. But also, it's like, no, she's not interested. Back off. Like, no means no. Deal with it.
Exactly. And then it's like if the day doesn't get worse, she heads home, she finds her car's been sideswiped. She walks in her roommate having sex on the divorce couch.
Yes, which is probably the most action that couch had seen, considering they
And a,
never did anything.
right? And then
Yeah.
she gets a bill for her dad's chemo treatment. Like she is a hot mess express at this point. And it's hard sometimes for me with a contemporary romance to like love a female main character when they're like such a hot mess express because I'm
But they
just
like
like,
kind of did it to themselves too.
yes. And
Where
I'm
it's
like,
like,
get your shit together. Get like one thing
right?
together.
Yeah, at least one thing. Yeah, it's like I understand like you want to be an artist and you want that to be your dream, but it's like you don't have to be doing half the shit that you're doing. Like you do have an education. Like you got a bachelor's degree from UCLA. So it's like there's a lot you can do. So at that point you're kind of like, did she choose the hard life or did the hard life choose her? It's like,
Or a little bit of both, maybe.
yeah. But I do feel for her in the sense of like taking care of her dad. So it's like,
Yes,
okay, I understand that. And that is tough. And it's a good thing to have in the plot for later.
it is. I think it really humanizes her a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So then we get to meet Liam, who at first I thought was a different character.
Right? Yeah, you're
because
like, who's this guy?
who is this guy? And I personally loved like when, his mom says if you don't answer the phone call, I'm going to fly to your house, which is if you don't have a mom who's very invested in your life or a mother-in-law, like that's not unheard of. If you don't answer my phone call, I'm going to call your spouse or your children or just show up. So, and for me, I was like, okay, so his mom might be a slightly crazy.
Yeah, she
Gotta love
doesn't
that.
respect boundaries. No boundaries there.
No boundaries. And so she wants to know if he's going to go to his sister Charlie's wedding and bring his wife, which he like reluctantly agrees to. And I'm like, oh, who is this Liam guy and who is his wife? Turns out it's Anna and they're not divorced.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta
So,
go convince my wife to come to the wedding,
or fake his death, you mentioned. That was also a good option.
which is a good option. Yeah,
Good
but
option. Book would have went in a
glad he
different
didn't do
direction.
it. Yeah, it would have been strange. But then, yeah, like he goes to her door, her out of the blue, and she's like super high on gummies because she's, unemployed and she's got nothing else to do. Which, to be honest, I kind of related to that because I'm like, oh yeah, I like a good gummy every once in a while. It's nice. So she's like trying to understand everything he's telling her that his family owns a massive grocery store empire and that his name's not is actually Liam and they're not really divorced and there's an inheritance clause. So like he has to be married for 5 years to keep his inheritance and this is why you should always read legal papers before you sign them, which she never did. So it's like, oopsies. Again, how
Right?
did she get to UCLA? I'm like, girl, come on.
Okay.
Ugh,
Well, and
get
it's
it
like
together.
I'm not good about like the click wrapper is like, do you agree to these terms and conditions? Sure, I'm not going to read those. But if I have to like actually sign a document like with my name either electronically or with an actual pen, damn straight I'm going to read that. Especially if I was going to get if like someone's handing me legal paperwork and I was
Yeah.
married, I'm going to get divorced. Like you think she would have read that, not just like sign her life away and just it's probably fine.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I trust this guy that I've lived with for 2 years, but I don't know him. I'm like, how can
Or
you
his
trust him if
name.
you don't know him or his name? All it would have taken was one look at the papers to be like, oh, his name is actually William, and his friends call him Liam. His name's not West. Like, come on. It's funny though.
It is pretty funny. Uh, then we get to kind of like what really sets off the book, right? Which is Liam asking Anna to come to his sister Charlie's wedding and pretend to be his wife. And then my favorite part is like he is committed to this act because he has been creating like digitally altered photos for years of her.
Right? Like, honestly, that's a little bit of like creeper status to be like, oh, I showed my mom a picture of you. You didn't know about it. And then, by the way, you're supposed to be coming from Cambodia right now, and you're a med student. She's like, so,
Like very weird. And then we get to like the pretty woman aspect where he's like, I'll pay for the trip and like your clothing. And she was like, you're rich. Why don't you give me money? And she negotiates $100,000, which
yeah. I
is,
can't believe she was almost going to do it for 10K, and that was
I
it.
know,
And I'm like, also, again, I'm like, you live in Southern California. 10K is barely going to cover like 6 months of rent. Like, like, oh my gosh, honey. If you married up, marry up. But yeah, it's like she gets 10K for a first check for 10K. And that pays for like her dad's stuff, which is again her character, and that's nice. And then she tells her best friend about the whole thing, and her friend goes and buys her all the clothes. And then she has to sign like an NDA contract. She gets nice luggage, first class ticket to Singapore, an Amex black card, a diamond necklace, itinerary, a ring, which she tells her, oh yeah, it's fake. Don't worry. It's not fake. It's not fake. But again, very Pretty Women esque. Although it would have been fun if they did like a scene where like she goes shopping and then it's like big mistake, huge.
huge.
That would
I
have
know,
been
right?
funny.
Like that was what played in my brain as I was reading. Is like, can you imagine like Anna high on gummies going into any of these stores,
She would have been like, I think this looks good. I don't know.
right? I
Kind
have
of
no
funny.
idea.
That's nice when you trust a friend.
There was a lot of trust there because like she clearly had like no idea what was being purchased for her. And then
Right?
I also love some of the references to like all of the grooming that she had done as well.
Oh my
Um,
God. She talks about getting a Brazilian and she's like, I had to go down on all fours and woo. And I'm like, oh, girl, I've been there. And yeah, that is not a fun experience. They get everything.
Right? But
It's
I'm
just,
also like, if you had no intentions of this turning into something, did you need that?
right.
Just like food for thought, just setting some things up. Um,
Oh, but then, yeah, she gets her nails done, which
yes.
I understand this. I'm like, you cannot do certain things when you have long nails. I mean, I have like no nails, but she can't zip her shorts. And so she's literally like, hey, I need you to come to the bathroom. I need you to. And that's kind of his first, like, oh, oh, I'm helping her zip up her pants. I mean, soon you're gonna
Right?
help her unzip them, buddy. So that's kind of a fun little thing, where she just, oh, I need some help zipping and unzipping. Fun
You know what
times.
though? I have been there. The first time I got like I don't even know, gel or acrylic nails, it was like the one and done time because I had them and then the next morning I could not put my contacts in and I was like, okay. I drove straight to the place. I was like, take them off. And they're like, just give it 2 days. I was like, take them off. I
Yeah, yeah.
can't.
I don't know how some people do it. I'm like, I can't. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So
I
kudos to
can't
all you
either.
ladies out there who can do
Who are
long
killing
nails,
it with the
because
long nails.
I'm jealous.
It's
I have
not
nail
us.
envy. Not
Yeah.
us. Can't do
So I love how, like, in the contract, it says he'll fill you in on all the details of the situation and the family, like, by the date that you're going to fly just initially to Singapore. And he does it like on the plane. And Cliff Notes version, his brother Alex and his wife Blair, they have 4 kids. Alex works at the company as a CFO. He's basically weak and insecure, and Blair is a handful. I think there are multiple mentions to if Blair asks you for a threesome, the answer is no. So immediately I'm like, that is one way to describe someone when you first talk about them, right?
it.
Like
Yeah,
I'm
right.
curious about Blair. And then she knows Jake, right? It's the younger brother that introduced the two of them. And he's the CMO and apparently like has been bribed to keep his mouth shut, but that their marriage is not real. And then we have Charlie, right? The baby of the family. And it's her wedding that they're going to. And there's like the least amount shared about her, I think, pretty much throughout the entire book. And then he talks about his dad, who wants him to come work at Weston Foods as COO and then take over as CEO, which Liam like does not want to do.
Yeah.
What's
It's giving
interesting
very
about
like
the
succession vibes on that
yes,
whole thing.
but what's interesting is like he shares a little bit about each of them, but he doesn't really like give her enough like personality information to prepare her for the people she is about to meet, which is problem number one, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because what's interesting is like when you get to know Blair some more, you find that she's actually very similar to Anna in terms of like just her outgoing personality. Like he's trying to, I feel like, rein Anna in of like, don't be yourself, like be a more like sophisticated version, like so we can pull off this scheme. And it's like, well, you already have one person in your family that's kind of a cray cray. And so it's
Right?
like, why, what's not believable about you marrying somebody similar to who your brother married in that sense? I'm like, why couldn't she just be herself? And it's like, yeah, here's why you haven't met my wife because she's eccentric. It's just, there was a lot of unnecessary, I feel like, drama in that sense, where it's like she could have just been herself.
Well, because I think when he is starting out, he wants it to go so smoothly and to go be in and out of the situation. And I'm like, that, how do you think that's going to go for 10 days? You can't just like go in and be like, be yourself, don't talk a lot, but be different and act like you're married to me, but like don't have intense conversations with people. It was just like, it was a very, I think, naive belief on his part when it got going. Um,
Yeah. But again, this is the guy that just married someone for housing, so it seems like he doesn't put a whole lot of thought. Which, like, well, do you sure you want this guy to be your CEO? He just put a whole lot of thought into marriage. So, running a company, I feel like you might want somebody who does more. Yeah. But then I get to the island. Yeah. And that's where, like, you're super White Lotus. You're like, oh my, okay. People are on like the board waving to you, and everyone comes up to meet you. His mom is super like perfect, bitchy, kind of rich mother-in-law making comments, and his hair is pink, which I almost dyed my hair pink, not for this episode, but just because I sometimes feel like it. So I felt a little attacked there. I was like, I've had pink hair. I loved my pink hair, which I'm really glad that Anna kept it because it kept some of her personality and who she is. And they were just like, how have we met her? And how lovely to meet you, you know?
Like the little comments that are like, you can't tell, like, are they complimenting me or doing a dig at me? Probably doing a dig at me, but then they're trying to do it like in a backhanded, nice way so it doesn't come across as super bitchy. Like, those are my favorite, like, kind of comments that that type of character makes, where it's like, you're doing it with a smile. That still makes you a bitch.
Exactly. A little gaslighting too, you know? So fun. Oh yeah, then they
Then
get
we,
to the room. Your
and it has
favorite.
one bed. One bed. And that, like, they're surprised yet not surprised. Like, I'm like, why did you not think about this beforehand? And I do love a good one bedroom. Like, who doesn't? And then my favorite part is it's not just one bed. Apparently, like the shower is open and visible. Like you can see everything in this room from any angle. So this is where I always say, like, the countdown to Liam and Anna having sex has like officially started at this point.
Yeah, like you get the little tease with like the zipper thing in the bathroom, but like now it's like, oh, you're gonna see each other naked. Gonna
Right.
get
And then they
interested.
take showers and they both look, right? Which
Yeah,
is
of
like
course
my
they
favorite
do.
part because of course, like of course you wouldn't. If they're not blind.
Yeah. Also, like they're both, attractive people, and so like you're gonna be stuck in a room and you're like just a little peek over the corner, like what am I working
Like,
with
what's
over
going on
here?
over there? Right?
Any tattoos I should know about? I don't know. Which honestly, so I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have like a steamy, like sexy hot shower scene. You
Right. I
know,
know.
I'm
I
like,
really thought there was gonna be more shower work happening, given the fact that the shower was so open. It was such like a prominent part of like it was mentioned multiple times in the book.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, okay, there's my sexy shower scene, but we still got good scenes, so it's okay. And then yeah, so they go to that first party after they've all peeked at each other. And of course, he's in love with what she's wearing. It's a full-on like pretty woman again. Like she comes with like her beautiful pink hair, but she's just looking like a sex goddess. And we get to meet Jake, who's the fun-loving little brother, and then Blair, who gives zero fucks and just seems like a good time. And honestly, I'm like, I want to go have drinks with Blair. She sounds like fun.
Same.
So
Same.
for sure.
And then we run into Liam's dad, Ray, who basically, during the party, strong arms Liam to go running with him in the morning. He's clearly like off the bat, like a narcissist, very, very obviously. And the thought I had when I read this was I feel like he's giving big Bart Bass from Gossip Girl energy.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. He like wants to compete with his son. He doesn't want his son to overtake him, but like he wants to encourage him to keep doing it. For
Right?
sure.
And like wants him to do exactly like what he wants the way he wants it. So,
Which again, I felt was very like Succession. Like parts later when like the dad like blows up at everybody, I was just like, all I could picture was the dad from Succession. I was like, mhm. But I could never imagine that guy running on the beach. So maybe more Bart Bass. But then we get to the bed again. And they're like, okay, like I'm gonna sleep on, the couch, or I'm gonna sleep on that little tiny bench. And it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And Anna's wearing those super skimpy PJs that her friend purchased. Which again, like you didn't look at anything. Like, okay. But then of course they end up cuddling all night long without even realizing it. And it's like, again, you know what's gonna happen. Because guys wake up with boners. Guys are gonna wake up with boners and they're gonna turn around and see a hot chick, half naked. Come on, you know what's happening. I love it. I love it so much.
then we get to kayaking, and obviously, like, boys apparently have to compete at literally everything. So Alex and Liam are going to compete to see who can get there the fastest, which is like, are we 12? Can we grow up, please? Um, but I think like a lot of that's because their dad has like mind fucked them so much for so long. They have this like built-in competitive streak about literally everything, which is kind of interesting. And then I feel like this is the naive Anna part, which is, and this is how I imagined it. Like, oh, sea turtle, like just like kind of like, oh, squirrel, like, and then
Squirrel.
like she drops her paddle, right, and then like chaos ensues because Liam's like, what's going, like he's in like competition mode, and she's just like beautiful water, animals. sea life. And so that was kind of interesting. And then you get like what is the first of what I would call like mini therapy sessions between the two of them, where they start talking about like why she dropped out of pre-med, about how her mom left and why that happened. And then you learn a little bit more about this long-term drama between Alex and Liam and how it's been going on.
Yeah, and at that point, like Liam, realizes he's gonna have a harder time trying to fake that relationship because his brother like maybe onto them, because of just everything between them. Like his brother's looking for an excuse to like attack him, and so at that point, that's when Anna is and Liam, or West, as we like to call him at that point, they agree to be more affectionate. Which of course you're like, yeah. How much of this is fake? Like it's gonna be real. It's super clear. They're gonna be attracted to each other. Something's gonna happen.
So we start to get to like the wedding activities. We have like the welcome reception. We our first kiss between Anna and Liam because they've agreed to like, be more affectionate with each other, which is followed quickly by Anna's ex showing up, which I kind of love that we hear Liam's perspective at this point because, one, I'm shocked that Anna knows anyone that could show up at this party based on like what we've learned about her to this point.
Right? So you're like, what?
Like,
That
how
doesn't
did
make
that
any sense.
happen? And then two, that she dated them. So also very confused. And it's interesting because he starts to get jealous. Like you see that he's kind of like not liking that this guy probably had his hands all over Anna at some point, and he makes a comment about Anna's hands that, Liam is doesn't like. So that was kind of interesting. And then we get to really, I think, see more of Janet, his mom, gaslight Anna, which is if you ever want to know like the definition of gaslighting, this scene is it, which is their 5-year anniversary is coming up, and Janet says, we should throw you an anniversary party. And Liam and Anna is like, that's not necessary. We're probably going to go on a trip. And then she was like, oh, no, we're going to do it. And then Anna's like, well, thank you. That would be so nice and thoughtful. And she was like, oh, so we should do it here, like at the wedding. And I'm just like, what is happening?
It's like, oh, of course it'd be so nice when it's not on your dime. And it's like, whoa, whoa, back up, honey. No. But yeah, like definition of gaslighting. Like she introduces it, she goes along with it, and then turns it around on her. And then like later she's like, I'm so sorry that we couldn't do your party. You're just gonna have to wait. After all, it is Charlie's day. And you're like, bitch, I see you. So, and I'm just like, I feel for Anna on that one. I'm like, oh my God. Are you sure you want to be fake married slash real married one day? Who knows? Into this family. Like, it's a lot of drama to deal with.
That's a lot of drama. Well, and then you have his dad who like is apparently telling a Forbes reporter that Liam's going to take over the company to kind of like force him into it. Like who does that? Who's like dropping major news that would require like a board vote and everything to a reporter to try and like force the situation. And then we hear about this elusive like Pisa scandal, which I every time I read thought of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is spoiler alert, not what it is. But
Not
that's
at
what
all.
my brain would think every time I saw it. And we get like no details, but we know something happened and Liam refuses to talk about it.
Yeah. Which again, you're kind of like, what the hell is going on with this dad? Like he just doesn't care about his family and about building it. He just wants to like get his legacy going, you feel like. And he'll go through any lengths to do that, which you're like, again, major Succession vibes for me. I'm just like, he's just manipulating all of his children to get what he wants. But on the plus side, there is a very beautiful relationship that develops between Anna and her like fake niece. Her name is Reagan, and she's basically just helping this young girl through an entire like kind of a mean girl situation that Reagan has back at home. And so she's like, I understand what it's like to be a kid and go through this stuff, and here's what I do to cope with it. And like Liam oversees that, and he starts to, I feel like at that point, fall for Anna in like a more emotional way. Where he's like, you're a good person. Like his he knows a little bit about, her past with her mom and her dad. But he's like, wow, like you're even though these aren't your family, like you're helping them. And I love that about you. So it's kind of sweet to see that.
It really is. And you have to feel for Reagan because every person, especially every woman, has been mean girled at some point, multiple times in their life. And just, it sucks when it happens when you're young. Like, because she's like, what, preteen, I think?
Yeah, she's like 11, 12. I think that's what it was.
And
Yeah.
that's just a hard age in general, let alone when you have mean girl problems. So if I had to, think about Ray in this situation, he has horrific treatment of his kids, which we've kind of talked a little bit about. But the best way to summarize it would probably be like he might be the world's biggest asshole. And I'm sure all of us have experienced someone like him, but like the worst kind of person, like you said, like that dad from Succession, and he's trying to like force Liam back into the company. But he won't take any accountability for whatever the hell happened with Pisa when Liam was younger, which seems to be like at this point in the book, we know that that probably caused the rift. There always was a rift just between like I think Liam and his dad based on how his dad is in general. But that seems to be like the turning point for Liam when he tried to cut ties with his dad and then also kind of took himself out of, I would say, like the rich family problems and was kind of on his own,
For sure.
i.e., why he needed family housing and the marriage of convenience. So,
And then we get some more of the mother-in-law hazing during the sauna where Anna is butt naked with Janet and Blair, which first of all, I don't think I'd want to be naked with my mother-in-law
right?
or family in general. I'm just like, I mean, I'm an open person, but I was just kind of like, I don't know. That's very like unusual, I feel like, but that could just be me. I don't know.
I feel every time I've done a sauna in a spa, I've always went in with my swimsuit on. And that's what like other people do. So, but then like I see it in movies or in like this book that I'm like, is this a different echelon of people all going naked into the sauna? Like, what is going on? Because I am wearing whatever swimsuit I wore that day.
Oh, I won't lie. I go naked. I do go naked. I go
Like if
full
you're by
nude.
yourself,
Or with my girlfriends. I will. But I don't think I would honestly feel comfortable going naked like with my mother, even though like she gave birth to me, you know. I think I would just be like, I don't know. I think for me I'm just like I mother. But I don't know. I think that's just like that's my relationship with my mom. But or like I wouldn't want to be naked with my mother-in-law either.
no.
You know? It's like
Especially not like the first time you've met them.
yeah, exactly. Like your best friends, like I'm fine with that. Like I'd be fine being naked with my friends. But I don't know. I think it's just like when it's more of like a motherly figure, it's I don't know. Because then it's like you're seeing what your son sees. And I feel
It's
like
just
that's like a
different.
weird, it's just different. Yeah. But while she's doing that, she's like super hazing Anna. And it's just, I guess that kind of happens to a lot of people. Although I'm not going to lie, I have a great mother in law. I love my mother in law. She's wonderful. So I don't see that happening. We would probably go to a spa together, but we'd wear swimsuits. But she wouldn't haze me there or anything. So, but some people just aren't as lucky. And it's very clear with Anna and Janet, that's the situation.
Well, it sounds like at this point too, like Blair also got treated this way when she came into the family. So this is kind of like the ritual. Welcome to the family. Let us haze you.
Yeah,
Not ideal. But
not ideal.
what I love about the spa visit is I feel like this is like the real moment where you start to see a game changer between Anna and Liam, where they both admit to finally being sexually attracted to each other, as if no one saw that before. But they're at least talking about it now. We're going to be adults. And then like the mood changes because Anna tells him that she's on his team and his ride or die. It's like one of my favorite quotes from the book, and he freaks out because he's like, and just kind of like leaves because he's feeling feelings, which is just really fascinating to me that it's just like, okay, so I'm just gonna get up and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be gone for 3 hours and pretend like what just happened. And the nice thing that she said, which is, like I'll basically be here for you and I'm here for you during this situation. Like that's what like cuts him to the core.
Yeah, it wasn't the elaborate first kiss that they had, which you could tell in that moment. I know we already talked about it, but like the first kiss, like the detail that they went into on the book was so good. I was like, oh, I want to be kissed like that. I like literally showed my husband. I was like, can we recreate this one? It's pretty nice. But like even then, it's like there's a connection. But yeah, again, it takes the words, the meaning behind it of like no one has been there for him his entire life in that way. Like maybe his brother, but like not so much. Jake, not Alex. So it's like, yeah, like it's too real at that point for him.
I would say, and it's just like honestly, like it's kind of heartbreaking at that point too, because for to realize that someone saying like that I'm here for you, and no one has ever really said that to him where he's felt that way in his entire life. That like hit me to the core because I'm like that poor guy. Like,
And he's in his
oh,
30s. He's
I
31.
know,
I'm like, dude, that sucks. So
I
yeah,
know.
you feel like empathy for him. You're like, okay. And you get like, all right, he needed time to walk away and like figure this out. And he did apologize for that. He was like, I'm sorry, I just needed to figure my shit out. Like we never had somebody like that. So again, like that's like a moment of them connecting. Again, the sexual tension is building, and now the emotional tension is building, and then we get to the Hollywood party. Right? Anna is just like a goddess. I want that dress. It kind of reminded me a bit of the dress from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Oh, I love that dress, the yellow one.
The yellow dress. Oh, just because the way they described like the straps and then like how it goes down low in the back and like her booty looks all good. I'm like, this would be a great dress. Good for you. But that's when they talk about he can't handle his feelings and he apologizes. But they agreed to be collaborators with benefits.
Which is a new phrase, which I've never heard collaborators with benefits. I've heard friends with benefits, but
Yeah. But again, I think that's their own little phrase, just for the island. It's the paradise problem, if you will. But famous last words, of course. And now we get to the favorite, the best part, the kitchen.
which the kitchen. So we're at this bougie island where we have all of these people waiting on us, and we just, they decide to leave and they want to make frozen pizza
Yeah, because
because
why not?
why not? And
Now
they
I
go
want
find
pizza.
right. When do you not
Now
want
I'm
pizza?
hungry and I want pizza. That's great.
Um, but they go to make the like frozen pizza. You learn that Liam actually worked in a kitchen at one point during college. So like he's like a fairly normal guy, even though he is in this very abnormal family situation. And they end up having extremely hot kitchen sex. And
Yes, they
Megan's opening
do.
the book to
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Oh, yeah. My skin is fire, brain haywire as he bends, licking a long street of heat up my neck, stopping at my ear. Wrap those fucking long legs around me. And you're like, okay, okay. And she's like leaning back on the table, which is like half the time you're like, oh my God, I'm getting turned on right now. And the other half of me is like, I hope somebody cleans that. Because
which
like
he did
that's what people,
afterwards.
which right, yeah, he did. But you're like, I was already thinking that like halfway during the sex scene of like, that's not very sanitary. Like, as a mom, you're thinking of all the shit your kids are like always doing everywhere, and you're like, oh man, I gotta clean that before food goes here. You gotta clean that stuff up for sure, which I'm very grateful he does. But oh man, and then he likes the nails. He's like, he really digs it, which kind of makes me think like he's like one of those guys that like not like S&M necessarily, but like he likes a little bit of like the scratching, like the nail, like the maybe choking, who knows? Because he kind of does that a little bit too, which I got turned on by that. I enjoyed that. So that was nice. But yeah, he ooh, just don't mind me.
A
I'm just
kitchen
gonna
sex.
the kind of raw, honest sex I've never had before and will want desperately again.
Which is exactly what happens because they basically can't keep their hands off each other for the next 2 days, literally.
Yeah, yeah. And that kind of gives them away that they're like, maybe they actually haven't done this before because, honeymoon phase is called the honeymoon phase for a reason because it's like literally the first thing. Um, but, that's when Liam tells Anna he wants to keep seeing her once they get home. So, the collaboration benefit lasted 2 days. And now it's like, we're going to see what happens.
We're gonna see what happens, which is very Pretty Woman-esque, right? Like that's exactly like what he says to Richard. They say Richard Gere says to Julia Roberts in that movie, right? Like I'd like to keep seeing you. Um, and that's also when he finally tells her about the trust issue, which I think is interesting that it took us this long for him to explain, like in detail, that if this fraud comes out, then not only would he lose his inheritance, but so would his siblings.
Which is so fucked up.
It really is because it's interesting. Like the grandpa, was this big family man, wanted the family to run the company together. But then I'm like, and supposedly was a great guy. But then I'm like, then why would you write a will that is like screws everyone for one person's poor decision.
Yeah, that's where you're kind of, yeah, it's like I understand like you want the siblings to all talk to each other, and like, and that's why he did it. He's like, if one goes down, you all go down. So you got to work together and make sure you all have happy, healthy marriages. But it's also like, dude, like, it's not realistic, and so it's just, yeah,
No,
it's disappointing.
it
But
really is. And then that's also, I think, when Anna finally tells Liam about like her dad's cancer, and I think he starts to better understand like why she's been doing what she's been doing. Because I think
why she needs the money.
why she needs the money, why she's been working so many jobs. Because I don't think he really understood what motivated her until kind of like he understood about her dad's cancer.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's more family drama at the breakfast. Ray's a dick. Oh my god, this part when he's just like a major asshole to the waitress. He runs into her, she drops everything. And that's really, that gives me like the Succession vibe of the dad, because he's just like screaming at her, like, you incompetent, blah, 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 blah. And like nobody really stands up to him except for Anna, like, you can't talk to people like this. Like, that's not okay. And he just like is like, who the fuck are you to talk to me? I can treat people however I want. And you're like, wow, this guy's a major dick. World's biggest asshole.
World, there is no other description. Like just
There's, yeah, that's how it is. And then like he randomly, like buys the vacation house for Charlie because she's like, oh, like the honeymoon place you're gonna stay, we can't stay anymore. So he's like, I'll just buy you a house. It's like, okay, crazy rich Asians just buy a house. All right, sure, that's
right?
fine.
Or a hotel, like
But
whatever. It's just very random. And then you have on the flip side, right? Anna, who's like ecstatic that her three paintings sold for $1,000 each. In this family where someone decided, hey, since your honeymoon rental house flooded, I'll just buy you one. So now you're going to get two houses for your wedding. Congratulations. It's just very different worlds.
oh yeah, it's such different worlds for sure. Yeah, like that's a super great contrast. And then you get to the wedding, which of course is just super over the top. Which I would actually love to see how they would do this if they would ever make it into a movie, because it's like, the Crazy Rich Asians, that wedding scene is so crazy, which is like, like the, oh my gosh, oh, it doesn't matter, we're not talking about it. But yeah, like in the wedding, we're just like all these like lanterns and all these things that they flew in to this private island, which again is not economical or in good, which Anna touches on as well, which is I appreciate. But it's a really big wedding, super fancy. And then, of course, there's drama with Liam and Alex.
Because Ray was Ray. And Ray told the Forbes reporter that Liam was going to take over the company. Because I guess one way to force someone to do what you want is to tell a reporter that it's going to happen and that they can break the exclusive news at some point. So we haven't touched on this much, but I think Alex always thought he was going to take over the company, right? He was the person that was next in line since Liam was out of the picture. And his dad clearly has, I would disdain maybe for Alex. He doesn't think Alex is smart enough or capable of doing it, which has to be like a big punch in the face to Alex, who's been working his butt off and really like trying to please his dad all the time. But we have Alex who, in my mind, when I'm reading this, is already like dealing with like a lot of emotional issues, has had a couple of drinks, and decides to announce to the entire wedding reception that Anna and Liam are not, they're married, but they're pretending, and then basically kind of tears Anna down because I guess that's just what you do when you're hurting.
Yeah. And at that point, I'm also like a bit in disbelief myself that like they didn't expect this in terms of like other people to find out. Because if you're that wealthy, you're going to do background checks on people. Like it happens all the time. Well, in the movies anyway, where like somebody's super wealthy and they're like, I did a background check. Here's their file. Here's everything about them. Like, did they really not expect anyone to do this? Like, come on.
And also, I was like, in the day of social media, we could do that. We could do most of this ourselves right now.
Oh my gosh, I Facebook stalk people all the time. Like, I'm like, I want to know who your ex-boyfriend is and what they're doing with their current life and that girlfriend and that kid and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I work for the FBI. So it's like, of course this was going to happen. Of course it was. But again, they're super shocked. Oh no, he knows the truth. duh.
But I think the
But
big surprise was that Ray knew the entire time.
yeah. But again, you anticipate that he knows things. But
And
of
he's
course
been
he
playing the
doesn't
long
give it
ball.
away. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, from my perspective, I thought what was interesting is that clearly he's been scheming this entire time to make Liam do what he wants and has multiple levers to pull to force the decision, which really starts to feel like Liam has no other option.
Yeah. It's all a chess game. He's like, no matter what move you make, I'm 10 moves ahead of you. And I know where you're gonna go.
And I was gonna say, and then there's this inheritance part where like the lawyer even says to Liam and all of the other siblings about, if the fraud comes out, you'll lose the inheritance. And none of the siblings seem to grasp at that point that it impacts all of them. I thought the language was super clear, but they're all like in their own la la land, like, oh. And I'm just like, did you not hear what they just said?
And then now it's like the time for the inevitable downfall of Anna and Liam. She learns that Liam is going to take the job from his dad and that he did purchase all three of those paintings, which we knew that is what happened, of course. And that kind of makes her feel like he lied to her. She gets really mad and saying that he's acting like his dad by trying to control her career and how like her siblings would never even choose him. So why is he choosing them and like their safety and their security and their future so they get their inheritance? And it's a whole thing, which, of course, then they break up. Which again, we knew this was all going to happen. It lines up too much sex, get too excited, drama, breakup. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting though, because one of the things that I love that she did is that she called him and was like, you are acting like your dad. Like the things that you say that you hate, you are now doing to me. And is it to the same extent? Absolutely not. Because like through the whole book, he's been a really good guy. And this is like the only bad thing. And I don't even know if it's bad, right? Like he makes the whole comment about, well, he bought the paintings. He knew like that he would love them. He wanted to do something romantic and have them hang in his house for like, so the first time she came over, she would see them, which is like very movie-esque. But I also think, right, like she wants to be successful on her own. And when you are trying to do something and you're not used to the world of like nepotism, you're not a nepo baby, you're not used to getting things handed to you, it does hurt a little bit when someone else makes it happen for you. And you question if it was your talent that did it or if it was someone else. But then I also see like in the art world, someone else buying your paintings and creating some initial momentum for you can cause other people to just take notice of your talent.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you understand his background for it. And that's just where it's a case of miscommunication. It's like if you had just kind of been a little bit more upfront about it and like talked to her about it, which she mentions, then yeah, it might have worked out better. I mean, it still does work out, but you're at the moment, you're like, okay, buddy, this could have been different. But then he, tells his brother Jake how he's going to take the job and tells him the truth about the inheritance. So Jake finally understands what's actually going to happen. And the weird thing is, Jake, instead of, being like shocked and appalled, he's just like, oh man, thank you for taking one for the team. And that's, I think, when Liam realizes, oh my God, Anna was right. Like, they wouldn't really do this for me. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not
And
okay.
that right? That has to hurt. Like if you're sacrificing your life and what you want for your siblings and they're just like, "Thanks. Thanks, bro."
Yeah, like it's expected. It's like, of course you would do the right thing. It's like, So then, Liam tells Ray he's going to come back, but he wants his dad to step down, which, of course, his dad is like, hell no. And I'm going to blackmail you if you try to make me. And I'm going to show everybody all the PISA documents. But it's nice because then Liam's like standing up for himself and he says, you know what? Go ahead and do your worst. I don't care anymore.
And then Ray does his worst and apparently dumps a bunch of piece of documents and there's a ton of like breaking news about it. And we learn that this piece of thing was basically some surveillance software that Liam created years ago. And Ray, at the time, we don't know this, but it was used to spy on employees and sexually harass female employees at the company. There were lawsuits about it. So Anna sees all this news and freaks out and then calls Blair, or well, gets in touch with Blair, who tells her all about PISA, which is it was originally created to monitor store inventory because apparently on the side, Liam is also like a coder. And Ray ends up using it to spy and harass employees, but then has Liam take the fall for it. And Liam at the time was like in between like
He's
15 and
17.
17 when this
Yeah,
happens. Which is just like, once again, world's biggest asshole. And that creates like this moment for Anna where she, I think, while she's angry at him, she feels like super protective of him and worried for him.
Yeah, and she already like knows his heart at that point, so she's like, I don't believe that he did this. And she's also at this point, like she's back home. She's told her dad the truth about where she was and like what was happening, and which is really interesting. I feel like her dad is super supportive, and that's also a common thing that she talks about. Like, my dad, David Green, would never act this way. So she can automatically see, obviously how shitty Ray is, but just the lack of a good, prominent fatherly figure that has just not happened for Liam in his life. Because she's like, my dad would never do this. And I told him all this truth, and he's still telling me, what do you believe his heart is? Like, who do you think Liam really is? And it's very interesting to see the contrast in the father figures for sure. So then Anna goes to Liam's house where there's tons of news fans outside, and you see again that Liam has a very just kind of simple lifestyle, his old beat up cars in the driveway, and he's super glad to see her. And she learns then that Alex gave a press conference saying that Ray was actually the one responsible for Pisa. And you're like, oh my gosh, Alex is sticking up for Liam. Well, it's because
and you're shocked at this point, right?
Because like you're like what? He has a backbone? Like, oh my God. But Anna, being the little tricky lady she is, she told Blair all about the inheritance and the little loophole that like if one of you falls, you all fall, like a domino effect. And she bet that, your family's going to go where the money is. Well, if you're told that your entire inheritance is going to go away, are you going to stay behind your dad, or are you going to tell the truth and risk it all and be like, okay, you know what? You're going to take away my money. I'm going to take away your legacy. So you kind of see the siblings finally stand up for Liam, which is nice. So you kind of get a little bit of like the camaraderie back again, and like the families joining in union again, except Ray's a dick and gets what comes to him.
He does, which means he gets to go to jail, which is great. Liam agrees to come back to the company in 5 to 10 years. His family is like trying to learn how to be a family because, like, let's be honest, they really weren't a family this entire book, but they're trying to figure that out. And then we have Anna and Liam who agree to stay married and ideally live happily ever after, I would assume.
It's interesting that he says, again, like that ring was real. And whenever you feel like you want to start wearing it again for real, because like she takes it off when they're starting their romance again. And then like at the end of the book, just one day she's like wearing the ring and like nothing else. And that's when you're like, okay, we're married again. But for me, like I kind of wanted like a little bit more. I was like, is he gonna like propose again? Are they gonna do an actual little like mini wedding again?
They said some sort of like wedding reception that wasn't as big, maybe. But I'm like, but like, I want the details. Give me the deets.
Yeah. It's like we're invested in this relationship from the beginning to end, and like we deserve more. I felt like
we definitely do. So some of the like really strong opinions that I have on this, we've already talked about the fact that like they were together for 2 years and they don't apparently like know anything about each other. I also felt one of the things that she mentions a lot, not a lot, but like a couple of times that started with when they were together was about Parmesan cheese, which I thought was really weird. Like it was a very specific thing that she likes the little Parmesan cheese packets or like the big container of Parmesan cheese and how like it exploded all over the apartment. So it was just like a really interesting situation. I also thought it was weird that they both seemed to have were really good friend groups, like separately, and that none of their friends thought it was weird during this 2-year period that they didn't do things together.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of weird. Everybody just needs like serious therapy, for real.
Therapy. They really, really do. All of them, like together, separately. And I think one of the things I liked about from a character development standpoint with Anna is she's like a hot mess express at the beginning of the book, but then you start to see like how she really dives into preparing to be like Liam's wife and like or portray that. And also I think there was a time in the book where she was going one of the events, she was going to meet some really important people, and she did like all this research about them, like diving on Reddit and things like that to be able to have these really wonderful conversations, which she ends up basically being the main person talking to them instead of Liam during
Yeah.
it. And then you start to see her like stand up for herself more to this group,
But you're
which
like,
I
good
thought
for you, girl.
really, because I wouldn't have guessed that she would have made that decision in the very beginning of the book,
Mm-mm.
like
No.
based on how she was behaving. But
Yeah.
my one kind of like complaint, I don't know, was the whole subplot of her being a struggling artist really necessary? Because it didn't feel like it brought a ton of value. And I don't feel like we got enough details about it that like I felt like it was important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. It's like I could understand why she was an artist for wanting to be the opposite of pre-med. If like her mother was a doctor, that's why she wanted to go that route. Which again, to go pre-med for UCLA, like you have to work really hard in that specific area. Um, so for her to just kind of like get that far and then just drop it, you're like, what? What? Okay. I don't know. That just kind of seemed a bit unrealistic to me.
I agree.
Um, and like the art part was great, and I understand like how she needed that to like vent her emotions and everything. And it was cute to see how she used art to connect with like Reagan. You know, I'm like, okay, that's cute. Like maybe there's a future artist there. Who knows? But yeah, I just feel like that didn't bring anything like really necessary to the plot, you know?
I agree. Whereas I thought like her dad having cancer and her being responsible for paying for his medical bills because he was a mechanic and that kind of situation showed us a lot about her character. I think it showed like Liam a lot about her character. I think it showed about her motivations throughout like everything, right? It was very clear from the beginning that she was not in this for the money. And then like the other things I would say, just you have Ray, the king of the narcissistic douchebags and how he treats his children. Like there is I don't have any other way to describe that.
Yeah, it's just he's like literally the dad from Succession. I know I feel like I've kind of like beat that a bunch, but it's just that's how he is. So I'm actually curious. I feel like this book came out. Did it come out
Last
before
summer.
Succession? Oh yeah, so they were clearly inspired, you know, by that character, and it's for a good reason. I mean, he's a good character you love to hate. And not everybody obviously has like a manipulating dad like that, but if you do, then you're gonna probably have a trigger on that one. Um, but yeah, just like the king of the narcissist. But you know, maybe some people can really feel that with, and maybe not necessarily like a father figure, but there's somebody in their lives who always makes it all about them, and the end game is no matter what gonna benefit them. And it's nice to see how somebody can work through that, and you see that person kind of like eventually get what comes to them, like karma comes their way,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I you don't really see him change through the book. I don't feel like Janet, who was like the queen of gaslighting in the book, she changes maybe a little bit by the end. Not a whole lot.
Ish.
I mean, maybe, but
Yeah.
I think that's more because of the situation she's in versus like her wanting to change. And then we have Blair, who is, I feel like she's like the secondary character that I needed more of.
Yes, absolutely. I want a book about her. Like let's
I do too.
like how
Let's
did her and
advocate.
Alex meet? Hmm.
And how do they stay married? And how does she parent four children? And what
Yes.
exactly has she seen? Because like there's one point where she mentions like running into Jake, who apparently is going at it with some woman in the bathroom at like a family event. Like I'm just like I feel like she's the person that where you see all these like kind of crazy things. I want to see more of that. I did like, I think, it was a nice subplot with like about this like Pisa, the business scandal and how that kind of definitely impacted the romance plot. That was good, for at least from my perspective. So if we get hot and steamy, which I know we talked a little bit about, but in more detail, um, this felt like a like kind of a three pepper book for me. I don't know about you, Megan, if you were kind of like the same way. Like there was spice. It was like open door. Like you could, I mean, it was you could read about it, but it wasn't like I didn't need a fan.
Yeah, no, exactly. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I the only thing that I was a little annoyed with for me was like you get a tiny bit of hint at spice in chapter one, and then you have to wait all the way to chapter 24 or 25 to get like the super like sexy stuff. And I'm like, okay, at that point, like you're involved in the story and you're like, yes, I want to know what happens. And like the sexual tension is leading up to it, but I would have liked to have seen something a little bit sooner. That's just me.
I
Like
agree.
again, maybe there could have been something in the shower. Like maybe they
Yes.
could have had an
There
almost
always should
moment.
be a shower scene.
Always should be a shower sex scene. Always.
Always. If you
It's
mention a
easy.
shower, I expect one.
Yes, exactly. Um, so yeah, it's like, but the yeah, like the kitchen sex was so bomb. Oh my God. And that's where I wasn't sure about the spice rating on this one until we got to that, and that's kind of what saved it. Because leading up to it, I probably would have given it a two.
I would have
But
too.
when we finally got to the kitchen sex, and then they kept going at it like nonstop, then you're like, okay, now we're spicing it up a level. Thank you very much. But it kind of didn't really go any further than that.
Mm.
Like,
It it
yeah.
really didn't. There was one point, I think, like in that kind of like 2 day period where they're going at it constantly, where they go to get food and it's like they can't keep their hands off of each other. And he was like, I need you back in the room on all fours. And I was just
I was like, can we go?
like right now,
Yeah. Like, can we read about that, please?
please, in more detail. And I think that was it was nice because like I think you get this really hot scene and then you get these like little like nuggets of pieces of like what happens next or the next 2 days or even in the epilogue where there's like multiple references to them like getting it on, but it's not like in a ton of detail. I think the end scene in the epilogue is what you mentioned, where she's like naked with a ring, is the most detailed portion, and even then, I feel like it ends too quickly. But
Yeah, we got
I
like
do,
teased.
we did get teased, especially when the kitchen sex was so good.
So good.
I needed more of that and more detail. I think is was the big thing. But it was interesting how like chapter one when she walks in on her roommate and they're having sex on the I call it the divorce like the divorce couch and the roommate's like tied up and I'm like, "Oh, this book is going to be like a little bit more spicy than I thought." Because typically like we said her books are kind of like two or three peppers and then it's like you said then we wait like 24 chapters to get to good stuff. I mean, Anna does have a lot of sexual innuendo like throughout the book, which is kind of fun to watch. It makes like a Liam uncomfortable, which is kind of hilarious, especially early on. But I thought
Which
there
is
would
funny.
be just more. I thought there'd be more sex.
Yeah. But you know what? I think this also goes back to making it a good, easy read. Like if somebody is like interested in reading kind of like spicy smut books, but like doesn't want like full on porn in their book, like they don't want that many details, but they want like a little something something. It's like, okay, you know what? That's exactly who this book is written for. Like somebody who wants a little bit of action, but they don't want to feel like it's all sex all the time, which that's me. I want to read those books, but I still enjoyed it. Like I still enjoyed the story. I still enjoyed the characters. Obviously the couple of sex scenes that we got were really good. I loved them. So
Yep.
still good. Good sex scene.
I I would agree. So things that like I loved, like we said, great summer beach read. It's easy to digest. I think it has some laugh out loud moments, especially like with the nails and the zipping up of the pants. There's lots of witty banter, which is kind of fun. And one of my things about like a summer beach read is it can't cause me to cry
Yeah,
because
no.
sunscreen
No,
on your face. So I'm always like I don't want to read anything during the summer outside that's going to cause me to have tears, and this definitely fits the book for that.
for sure. But it's like it's also the book that you read and like you have your little like drink next to you and you're just like, ooh, what happens next? Oh my. Yes, please.
Yes.
Like it's that fun book. Which again, speaking of a fun book, I still think Blair needs her own. We gotta know, like, how did her and Alex come together? They've been married for 10 years, they have all these kids, like, and she's like very different than Alex, which she describes later, like once he's like relaxed, he's a totally different vibe than when he's with his family. So it's like, okay, who is he? I want to know. Like, tell me, does he know how to get down? Does he tell you to get down on all fours and like pound you from behind? I don't know,
Well, no,
but I want to.
but I would like to. I also want to know, like, how many times have you been arrested, Blair? How many bodies have you hid? Because I feel like she's the person,
Right.
like your ride or die, that you call at 3 a.m. and you're like, hi, I need help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really like she needs a book. So I think Christina Lauren, we're advocating, can you write a book about Blair? We need more
Yes,
Blair.
please. We want to
Please.
know if has she ever had a threesome. I want to know. And
I
with
feel like the
who?
answer to that is yes, given the
Yes.
fact that she's asked everyone to do it. And who was it with? I think is the other question that I have. Like, was Alex involved? Because I don't feel like that's his. I don't know.
I
It
don't know.
doesn't feel like that's his jam.
Yeah. Is he kinky? Mhm.
He's very straight laced. I love that Liam, for the most part, was an overall good person in the book. Because I think sometimes in contemporary romance or even in romantic books, you have that main male character who is at some point like you hate him, or
Yeah.
he does a super douchey thing, and you're like it kind of like ruins his character. And it was nice to not see that happen in this book because I think that I just like that.
Like
Um,
the only bad thing he really did was like freak out when she told him like on your ride and die, and he like couldn't emotionally process that, and he like disappeared for 3 hours and didn't like communicate. Like that's really like the only like big negative thing he did, other than of course like make up things about her that she shouldn't know about. But that's for the story. But when it comes to like emotional development, like he recognized what he did was wrong and that he shouldn't have reacted that way, and he was trying to improve himself. So you're like, okay, I see growth here, there's potential, but he already was like a good like loving guy. So I appreciated that.
I too. And I feel like we need a minute for the close. Like I felt like this was very Gossip Girl, like Serena Vanderwoodson vibes based on how Anna was dressed. And it's just interesting like how much information was put into what she was wearing. Because I don't feel like we got a lot of detail about everyone else. We got maybe a little bit, but there was always a lot of detail. So clearly, like we wanted clothes to be a big part of that. And obviously Liam's reaction too.
Yes, exactly. Like him. And I also want to know a bit more about like what he was wearing. Like we kind of got a little bit on like the costume that like she picked out for him when like they had to just like grab stuff and go for the Hollywood party. That he was in, well-fitted suit and whatnot. But I still want to know like what else was he wearing? Like did he dress up nice, or did he wear just like super duper like kind of casual clothes? Or
Right.
did
And
we
how
talk
did that
about that and I just
compare?
totally missed it?
No, I think there's like some vague details about it, right? Like I
There's
think it
vague, yeah.
was right, like oh he like his pants legs are cuffed up because they can't wear shoes apparently on the island. But it was never like I could picture him and what he's wearing and being like, damn, I bet he looked really good. Like I didn't have any of those moments where I've like read other books where I'm like, I can literally imagine like what that male main character is wearing, like how he looks and that type of stuff. And I mean, minus the kitchen scene, I don't feel like I got enough information about his attire, given how important her attire seemed to be in the book.
Right. Yeah. It's like normally that wouldn't be super necessary. But yeah, it's like if you're going to do it for one, do it for the other. Maybe.
So let's kind of move into what we like hated or like room for improvement. So for me, like one of the things was Anna and Liam's, their characters were definitely like multi-layered, somewhat complex. The rest of the characters felt like the minus Blair, like the same, like with just like slight tweaks and they were very surface level. So they're all like over motivated by money. And I didn't really see any other depth to them. I thought you could probably just like replace them with each other and not see any difference.
Yeah. But maybe that's the point. Like maybe that's just because like when you have that much money, there's not that much to you anymore.
Ooh, that's a good
Like
point.
your soul is already kind of just like drained out of you, maybe. And you just live for the day to day and the money?
That sounds
I mean, I
horrible.
don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like money can't buy happiness.
No.
Just can't buy you happiness.
So my other thing, and this is like a comment about, I think in general, about a lot of contemporary romance books, there is always, right, like that big event that leads to the breakup. And then inevitably, right, like in almost all of them, they get back together. But why does it have to be so rushed? In this book, it was the last 50 pages. And the book's like, what, 340-ish pages? I want more time. I want more time with them being apart because they were apart for like a day and a half before they like runs back to she runs to his house after the news is broken and everything. I want to feel like the turmoil of that. And this didn't have that, and I felt like it just got wrapped up too quickly for me. We spent so much time building it up, and then it's like, oh, they're over. Now they're back together. And I'm like, that's not real life. I mean, I guess there are times, right, where people break up and then get back together really quickly, but I'm just like, if you had this big of a fight, don't you think there would be a little bit more time apart?
Yeah.
Or like I could hear or see, we see Anna because she talks to her dad about it, but like you don't really see his perspective of what it's like to be apart from her, or I don't know. I want more of that. And I want more information about like what happens after they get back together. And I know like epilogues are sometimes the way that's done, but I'm like, could it be? I need more. I need more, everyone. More.
I feel like they could have put like, at least like 10 more chapters. Like, I feel like that could have helped to expand, like, because they put so much effort into, like you said, like the world building in the beginning, that it's like, now that like the world has exploded, it's like, but we still need to know, yeah, how the pieces all get pulled back together, and like why are they broken so severely, like, yeah, like how is this happening? So I feel like if they do turn this into a movie, that'll be easier to understand, because visually it'll make sense. But like when you're reading it, or if you're listening to it, like it feels very rushed, and you're like, for an easy summer read, sure, that's fine. But for people who want just like a little bit more, it's too much of a cliffhanger in that sense of like, how did they get here? How did they get from step A to step B?
Like, how did you get all of them to agree to have family dinners together? Like, they all pretty much like acted like they hated each other like 10 minutes ago. So it's kind of like, how is Janet dealing with this? Like, it's just, there's a lot of things that I felt like were just very, like your point, like very rushed. And I want more details. I'm very inquisitive, as you'll all learn, and I want more information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was funny for me is the family's based in Orange County. And so they're talking about, oh yeah, Newport, Irvine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's right down the street. Like, where do they live? Do they live next door? Do they live in this city over here? Like, where is everybody else? Like, I know the family's based here, but like, where about? Like, because they're very specific that she's in LA and he's in Stanford area. So like, okay, we got Palo Alto, we got LA, we got Orange County. Like, there's a little bit more in between that. So where do people go? I don't know. But I want to know. And then we get into okay, again, this is I hated it. There's room for potential with Anna getting into UCLA as pre-med. I know I've kind of beat this with a dead horse. That's not the right phrase. I've been beating a dead horse on this one. But yeah, it's like, how does she get into UCLA as a pre-med and, study and like get in those good grades and everything, and then just not read a contract for divorce papers? Like, you're smarter than that, honey. Like, come on. But it's super frustrating that like they build on that for her world. And then suddenly she's getting all of her intelligence from like reading the magazines when she's at like the gas station, or from being on Reddit, which, don't get me wrong, there's great information out there, but it's like, you're a really smart person. Like, why are we not learning more about that? Like, your beauty and brains. Like, yes. I want to hear more about how intelligent you are. Like, you can kind of see it, like there's hints of it, where she can be quick to memorize things and she can like pick up on cues, but it's like, there's more to her. Like, she has more layers.
No, I agree. I wish we saw more of that. And I don't love I get why, like, it was a necessary element for the plot that she didn't read the divorce agreement when she signed it. But I don't love, like, how they, like, when the courier comes with the NDA and the contract, like, he specifically says, like, Anna, make sure you read it before you sign it, type of thing. Like, it's like a little dig. And I'm just like, dude, or maybe you should have told her. Yeah. Before you like that would have been a nice heads up. Hey, by the way, we're gonna stay married for 5 years, and you'll get $10,000 at the end of it. That's what's in this paperwork that you signed. Like, I don't know, communicate.
Yeah, she would have said yes to that. It seems like she'd been like, okay, cool, no problem. Like 10 grand, sweet. But yeah, it's like she's not a bimbo. Don't treat her like a bimbo. She's not. She's smart.
So let's talk about what's next. If you enjoyed this book, we think you'll also love the entire Crazy Rich Asian series by Kevin Kwan, which includes the book that's spawned the movie, Crazy Rich Asians. It also includes China Rich Girlfriend and Rich People Problems. They are very fun reads.
I have not
Another
read
one,
them.
they're,
I
oh,
have
you
not
have
read them.
to.
I've
They're
only
very
seen
fun
the
reads.
movie. Okay,
It's
I'll
different.
look at that.
It's similar. The first book is similar but different from the movie. It's definitely it's very interesting. They're
Adding
fun.
it,
They're
adding it to my
to the
TBR.
TBR.
Yeah, it's good.
Um, Another good book that also kind of is similar in terms of just like fun read is Life Too Short. Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. Great book, really easy to read as well. And then if you like Christina Lauren's writing style, the two that I would have you check out are Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. It's also very funny. And The Honey Don't List are kind of like two that I think are very similar but different. If you like this book.
Nice. I haven't read those ones either. I'm gonna have to add them to my list. I can't wait. Very nice. And then don't forget to check out our romantasy episode that we're gonna drop this week, and we're gonna cover Thrall. And then make sure to join us next week when we dive into the world of romantasy and talk all things Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Happy reading!
Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.